I should have stayed on that plane. I was supposed to be in Chicago until Friday, networking, whining, dining, and smiling through bullshit. But around 11:30 p.m. on Wednesday night, I sat alone in my hotel room with a glass of whiskey and an inexplicable tightness in my chest. A gut feeling. The kind you can't rationalize, but also can't ignore. I stared at my wedding ring, rolling it between my fingers like a coin. Something felt off. I told my boss I had food poisoning, packed my suitcase, and caught the first flight out the next morning. By 10:42 a.m. Thursday, I pulled into our driveway. Our house was quiet. Too quiet. Lena's car was parked out front, which struck me as odd. She was supposed to be at her yoga class until noon, but maybe she skipped it. I figured I'd surprise her. Maybe even catch her still in bed. Give her one of those slow kisses she used to crave. Hell, I even bought her favorite croissants from that bakery she liked. I was trying. Our marriage hadn't been perfect lately, but what marriage is? We'd grown distant. I chalked it up to work stress, routine fatigue, and maybe, just maybe, some emotional laziness. We stopped talking about the little things, which turned into big things. I had planned to fix it. That's why I came home. I wanted to save us. Keys in the lock, I turned the knob slowly. The silence was thick, the kind that buzzes in your ears. And then I heard it. Laughter. Male laughter. Coming from upstairs. I froze. Maybe Lena had friends over. Maybe it was her brother. Or maybe no. No way. She wouldn't. Another laugh. Then a moan. Then another voice. Deep. Familiar. I know that voice. Chris. Followed by another. Higher. Cockier. Unmistakable. Tyler. I don't remember walking up the stairs. I just remember the sound of the floorboards under my feet. That surreal detachment, like I was outside of my own body. Like this was a nightmare I'd wake up from. But when I pushed open the bedroom door, reality drove a stake through my chest. There she was. My wife. Lena. On her knees between Chris and Tyler, naked, flushed, and too caught up in the moment to even notice me. Chris was behind her. Tyler in front. And she was moaning. God, she was moaning like I hadn't heard in years. Her back arched, fingers gripping Tyler's thighs, mouth stretched wide open. Her wedding ring catching the light as she worked him with a practiced rhythm that shattered me. It wasn't the sex that broke me. It was her expression. Joy. Wild, unfiltered, messy joy. Not guilt. Not hesitation. Just lust. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe 30 seconds. Maybe a lifetime. They saw me first. Tyler's eyes widened. Chris froze mid-thrust, and Lena finally turned around. Her face went pale. Daniel, baby. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. I must have looked like a ghost. Or maybe a corpse. I felt dead. Chris had the audacity to speak. Dude, wait. It's not what it looks like. I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound cracked through the room like a gunshot. Really? I said. Because from here, it looks like my wife is having a threesome with my two best friends. Lena scrambled off the bed, yanking a sheet around her. Daniel, listen, we didn't plan this. It just happened. It just happened. My voice trembled, cold rage bleeding through every syllable. What part exactly just happened? The part where you pulled both their cocks out? Or the part where you forgot you were married? Chris stepped forward, palms up. Man, you're blowing this way out of proportion. Out of... My breath caught in my throat. You fucked my wife. Tyler, still stark naked, muttered. Technically, we all. Shut the fuck up, I snapped. They tried to talk over each other, blathering excuses and half-assed apologies like that would put the pieces of my heart back together. But it was Lena's voice that cut deepest. We were lonely, Daniel. You're always gone. You've been distant. It's like you checked out of the marriage months ago. I felt like she punched me in the chest. So your solution was this? You couldn't talk to me? You couldn't even pretend to fix us before fucking both of them at once? She started crying, or at least forcing tears. I couldn't tell anymore. Please, just calm down. We can talk about this. It didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything. I looked at the bed, the crumpled sheets, the condom wrappers, the scent of sweat and sex thick in the air, and something inside me snapped. Not violently, not loudly, but permanently. I dropped the bag of croissants. The box split open. Almond flakes and buttery crumbs spilled across the hardwood floor like some cruel metaphor for everything I thought we had. Then I turned around, walked out the room, down the stairs, out the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just left. The drive was a blur. I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't be there anymore. Something inside me died in that room. But something else was born too. Not vengeance. Not yet. Something colder. Sharper. Patient. The kind of silence that waits before the storm. I spent that night driving with no destination, no music, no thoughts. Just this quiet scream inside my skull that refused to die down. When I finally stopped, it was at a 24-hour diner off Route 19, where the smell of burnt coffee and fry grease was somehow comforting. I sat in a booth until sunrise, staring at the condensation on a glass of water I never drank. By 7 a.m., my phone had 14 missed calls and a dozen texts from Lena. All variations of the same tune. Please come home. You're overreacting. Can we just talk? I blocked her. I didn't go home. I went to my brother's place on the other side of town. Crashed on his couch. Told him only what he needed to know, that my marriage was over and I needed a few days. He didn't press. But the thing about betrayal this deep, it echoes. You don't just grieve the relationship, you grieve your reality. And as I lay there that next afternoon, staring at his ceiling fan spinning in slow, pointless circles, I realized something. Chris and Tyler's wives didn't know. I wasn't sure why that mattered to me. Maybe I wanted them to hurt too. Maybe I just didn't want to be the only one drowning. But a storm was forming in my gut. Not rage, not yet. Just pressure. Then I got the knock on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened it and froze. Emily, Chris's wife. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her dark hair was tied back in a loose, careless bun, and her face was pale beneath minimal makeup. Behind her stood Harper, Tyler's wife, in a sleek blazer, eyes puffy but burning with something I couldn't name. Daniel, Emily said quietly. Can we come in? My heart hit the floor. You know? Harper stepped forward. We know enough. But we need to rest. Please. I let them in. They didn't sit like guests. They sat like detectives, like women who'd gone over the evidence 1,000 times in their heads, but just needed the final nail to seal the coffin shut. Emily got right to it. We've suspected for months. Chris has been distant. Tyler's always hiding his phone. Stupid excuses. Late nights. But we never had proof. Not until now. Harper looked me dead in the eyes. What happened, Daniel? Tell us. So I did. Everything. How I came home early. How I found Lena in our bed, with both of them. Their excuses. Their gaslighting. The croissants I never got to give her. By the end of it, Harper was pacing the floor like a lioness. Emily had tears in her eyes, but they didn't fall. She just nodded slowly, like each word I said was a brick stacking up to something inevitable. I knew it, she whispered. I fucking knew it. They've done this before, Harper muttered. They always flirt too closely. The inside jokes. The boys' trips. I should have listened to my gut. Emily looked up at me. Did Lena say how long it's been going on? I shook my head. She didn't have time. But judging by how comfortable they all were, I'd say it wasn't their first rodeo. That broke something in Emily. She stood up fast, wiping her face. I feel like an idiot. All this time, I kept telling myself he'd never do that to me. That they wouldn't do that to us. They did, I said quietly. And they didn't even hesitate. Harper poured herself a glass of water from the kitchen like she lived there. Her hands trembled, just slightly. We need to hit them. Not just emotionally. We need to wreck them. Emily nodded. I'm done playing polite. Chris and Tyler think we're soft. That we'll forgive, or cry, or fold. What are you thinking? I asked cautiously. Harper's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. I'm thinking, we've got power. Chris and Tyler have careers. Reputations. Lena's got that curated Instagram perfect life. Friends who worship her. Clients who trust her. We could take all of that. Emily stepped in. But we need to be smart. Methodical. No messy fights or drunken Facebook rants. No public scenes. We ruin them the same way they ruined us, from the inside out. It hit me then. I wasn't alone. These women weren't victims. They were warriors sharpening their blades. We'll need to meet again, Emily said, standing. Privately. No phones. No digital trails. I have a place, Harper added. Emily's house. No one will suspect anything there. I was still processing, but I nodded. Then came the part that caught me off guard. Emily stepped closer. Not flirtatious. Just soft. She placed a hand on my shoulder. Thank you for telling us the truth. Harper gave me a long look. And for not hiding it like they did. For a moment, it was just the three of us. A strange triangle of broken hearts and silent fury. But something unspoken passed between us, something solid. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. They walked out together, heads held high. And as I stood there watching them disappear down the sidewalk, I realized something that shook me more than anything I'd seen in that bedroom. I wasn't the one who snapped. We all did. And now, we were coming for blood. Emily's house was the kind of place that looked like it belonged on a magazine cover. Not overly fancy, but clean, minimalist, curated. White walls, natural wood floors, perfectly arranged bookshelves, a hint of vanilla and lemon in the air from some candle burning near the window. But that night, it felt like a war room. The three of us sat in her living room, a bottle of red wine opened and untouched on the coffee table between us. No one was here to drink. No one was here to numb the pain. We were here to build something. Harper was the first to break the silence. She leaned forward, her elbows on her knees, her nails digging into her palms. We need to stop reacting like this just happened to us. No more crying. No more playing the stunned spouse. Emily nodded. We strike. There was something terrifying and exhilarating about that word coming from her mouth. Emily always had that soft, composed energy. PDA mom vibes. Polite smiles and Pinterest boards. But now, her voice had teeth. And we don't just strike, I added. We erase them. That got both of their attention. I saw Harper's brow lift slightly. I sat forward. Not just revenge. Obliteration. Reputational, legal, financial. We don't just expose them. We turn their lives into wreckage. Emily looked down at her hands. Her wedding ring still glinted there. Slowly, she pulled it off. Set it on the table like she was dropping a grenade. Then let's do it. We started outlining everything we knew. Every detail. Chris works for a real estate firm downtown, reputation built on integrity, often speaks at conferences, a pristine social media image. He had a lot to lose. Tyler, corporate lawyer, private firm. Ruthless in court, but also involved in a charity group for underprivileged youth. The image of the family man. The perfect smile. Lena, self-employed interior designer, huge on social media, brand collaborations, sponsorships. Her entire career relied on her image. The polished, happy wife, tasteful home, curated lifestyle. They had built their empires on lies. And now, we were going to burn them down. Emily grabbed a yellow legal pad and started writing. Expose the affair publicly. Ruin them socially. Hit them financially. Destroy careers. Take control of assets, custody, and reputation. We're going to need evidence, I said. Harper leaned back and smirked. Oh, I already have some. I started digging after Tyler came home smelling like hotel shampoo last month. He's got a hidden photo folder on his phone. I found screenshots, saved images, even an invitation to a sex party he deleted from his calendar. The idiot synced it to our shared cloud once. I downloaded the whole thing. Emily blinked. That's something. I wasn't sure what I was looking at the time, Harper added. But now? Oh, it's gold. I felt a sick sort of satisfaction blooming in my chest. Good. Because I have the video. Both women looked at me. What video? Emily asked slowly. I swallowed hard. I had a home camera set up in the hallway. One of those little nanny cams Lena didn't know about. It doesn't catch everything, but it's enough. You can see them. All of them. Going into the bedroom. Naked. Laughing. Emily stared at me. And you've watched it? Once, I said. That was all I needed. Harper reached for her glass, but didn't drink. We could release them anonymously. Send it to their jobs. Send it to their families. Let it spread like wildfire. Emily looked thoughtful. But that can backfire. Especially if it traces back to us. We need to leak it strategically. Make it look like it came from someone inside their circle. We'll need burner phones. VPNs. Maybe even a fake account or two. And lawyers, Harper added. Tyler's firm is ruthless. But I know people too. I've got a friend who's a shark in family law. Emily tapped her pen on the notepad. Financially, we hit them through the divorce. I'm filing for full custody. Chris will fight it, but he won't win if his little extracurriculars go public. Harper grinned. I'll bleed Tyler dry in court. I looked between them, feeling the weight of something shift. We're really doing this. We have to, Emily said. They didn't hesitate when they destroyed us. Why should we? Harper stood, walked to the fireplace, then back. Her body was restless, charged with adrenaline. And if any of them tries to twist it, make us look crazy, We push harder. Hard enough that the only thing they can do is collapse. Silence filled the room for a long moment. 3 people. 3 broken hearts. 3 sharpened knives. Then Emily set her pen down and said, "We seal this pact now." Harper and I both looked at her. "No more second-guessing," she continued. "No hesitating. We go all the way. Until they're nothing." Harper nodded. "Agreed." I didn't even hesitate. "I'm in." And just like that, it was done. Not with a handshake. Not with a toast. But with a shared understanding. We weren't victims anymore. We were a storm. You never forget the moment you go from victim to architect. For weeks, I'd lived in silence. Not peace, silence. The difference is everything. Peace is healing. Silence is pressure. Pressure builds. Until you detonate it. That Monday morning, while Chris kissed Emily goodbye and Tyler kissed Harper's cheek like nothing had changed, the first domino fell. I sent the messages. I had created a fake email address, scrubbed clean through a VPN, loaded it with attachments and a carefully written note, designed to look like it came from someone inside the affair. Subject: thought you deserved to know the truth. Attachments included a cropped still from the hallway camera footage, Lena's arm pulling Chris and Tyler into our bedroom, all 3 of them half-naked. Screenshots from Harper's recovered files. Text between Lena and Tyler about repeating last Saturday. The invitation to the sex party from Tyler's deleted calendar. I sent it to their coworkers, their mutual friends, Chris's boss, Tyler's partners, Lena's top 3 design clients. A slow leak, deliberate and staggered. I timed it to hit inboxes between 8 o'clock and 9:30 a.m., right as they settled into work. Just as the caffeine hit. The reactions were immediate. By 10 a.m., Emily texted me. "Emily, Chris is unraveling. Just got a call from his managing partner. Apparently his face is redder than the espresso machine." Harper, Tyler just stormed out of the office. I've never seen his mask slip like that before. It was glorious. I smiled for the first time in weeks. It wasn't joy. It was something darker. Something colder. It was justice. Later that evening, Emily invited us over again. This time, there was wine, and we drank it. Emily, once so composed, was practically giddy. She leaned back on her velvet couch, barefoot, swirling a glass of Merlot as she read texts aloud. "Hey, Em, just wondering if you're okay? I got the email this morning. Please know I support you no matter what." She laughed. "That's Megan, Chris's work wife. She always had a thing for him. Bet she's regretting that now." Harper was sitting cross-legged beside me on the floor, scrolling through her phone. "Tyler tried calling me 5 times today. Left 1 voicemail. He actually cried." I turned to look at her. "He cried?" "Oh yeah? Whining about how I was destroying his life, how I needed to take the files down before it went viral. I told him I didn't know what he was talking about, and that maybe he should check with Lena." She grinned, sharp and unrepentant. He hung up. Emily leaned forward. "We're not done. Not even close," I agreed. Over the next few days, we executed the next part of the plan. Emily confronted Chris in person. She invited him to dinner, made his favorite dish, set the table like it was a normal night. Then, halfway through the meal, she slid her phone across the table with one of the leaked images. Chris looked up at her like a child caught stealing. "You lied to me," she said softly. "You lied with your mouth, your body, and your silence." He tried to spin it, of course. Claimed it was just a phase, that he and Tyler got caught up in something stupid, and Lena was the one who pushed it too far. Emily calmly reached for her wine, took a sip, and said, "I already filed. I'm taking the kids. I've got documentation. And your boss saw the photos. You might want to update your resume." He didn't finish dinner. Meanwhile, Harper played her part beautifully. She didn't just confront Tyler, she ambushed him. She showed up at his office during lunch hour in a flawless red dress, stilettos clicking across the tile. She handed him a manila envelope full of printed screenshots and audio transcripts. "Consider this a preview of what's going to your firm's HR department," she said. "Oh, and I've already frozen the accounts. You'll be getting served this Friday. Pack light." She walked out before he could respond. The cheaters were reeling. Their friends turned cold. Clients backed away. Tyler's charity group quietly removed him from the board. Chris's firm suspended him pending an investigation. Lena, according to a mutual friend, had a breakdown when one of her sponsors pulled a campaign worth $20,000. I should have felt closure. Instead, I felt something new. Power. For the first time in months, I wasn't beneath the boot. I was the one applying pressure. And Emily and Harper saw it, too. It changed the way they looked at me. Not pitying, not friendly. Something different. Emily touched my arm when she passed me a drink. Her fingers lingered. Harper stood just a little closer than necessary while scrolling through messages, her arm brushing mine. At first, I told myself it was nothing. But it wasn't. We were connected now, not by love, but by shared rage. By betrayal. By the hollow ache that only someone who's been there can understand. That night, as I was leaving Emily's house, Harper walked me out. "Thanks for tonight," she said. Her voice was lower than usual, tired but warm. I nodded. "It's only just beginning." She stepped closer. "You really did that. You pulled the trigger. You started the whole thing." I met her eyes. "Would you have preferred silence?" "No," she said. "Not anymore." And then she leaned in. It wasn't a kiss. But it wasn't just a goodbye, either. She rested her hand on my chest, just for a second, and walked back inside. I stood on the porch for a long time, staring into the dark, wondering where this war was going to take us next. The first time I touched Emily wasn't planned. It was a Tuesday night, maybe a week after the initial strike. I dropped by her house to review the next phase of our plan, targeting Lena's business clients. But we didn't get far. Harper couldn't make it. Said she was handling something with her lawyer. So it was just the two of us, sitting on her couch, documents spread across the coffee table, a quiet tension humming in the air. We were talking, yes, strategizing, but something else was happening beneath the surface. Our eyes lingered longer. Our bodies angled closer. I noticed the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was frustrated. The way her breath hitched when I leaned over to point at something on the laptop. It wasn't lust, not exactly. It was the ache of proximity. Two people carrying open wounds, stitched together with shared pain. At one point, she sighed and leaned back, her blouse clinging slightly to her chest. She looked over at me and said, "I still wake up expecting him to be next to me. Then I remember, and I feel cold." I didn't say anything, just nodded. She stared at me for a moment too long. Then she reached out, not to kiss me, but to touch my hand. "You've been solid through all of this," she whispered. "Like a goddamn mountain." I looked at her fingers, resting over mine. Then I looked at her lips. That's when the electricity shifted. We didn't kiss. We didn't move. We just stayed there, suspended in that fragile space between restraint and desire. And then her phone buzzed, breaking the spell. It was Chris. Another ignored call. She pulled her hand back quickly, muttering, "We should focus." I agreed. But the air never returned to normal. The next night, it was Harper who called me. She asked me to meet her at her apartment, said she had something to show me regarding Lena's tax filings. But when I arrived, the lights were low, music playing softly in the background. She wore an oversized sweater that slipped off one shoulder. No makeup, just this raw, natural version of herself I hadn't seen before. I paused at the door, sensing the shift. "You sure this is about taxes?" She smiled faintly. "That depends. Are you going to arrest me for fraud?" I laughed, but my pulse skipped. She walked to the counter and handed me a drink. "Whiskey, neat. You've been quiet lately." "Just processing," I said. "Still feels like none of this is real." "It's real," she said. "Too real." We sat on her couch, close, too close. She vented. I listened. Her pain was different than Emily's. Sharper, more cynical. But underneath it, there was something soft, scared. "He made me feel old," she said suddenly. "Like I was just a placeholder until something younger came along. Even when he was inside me, I knew he was pretending I was someone else." The vulnerability hit hard. I didn't know what to say, so I just reached out. This time, it wasn't a hand. It was a hug. But it didn't stay that way. She pressed her face against my neck. I felt her breath, warm and shaking. And then her lips brushed my collarbone, light as a whisper. I pulled back just slightly, looked at her. She kissed me. Slow, tentative, almost questioning. And I kissed her back. Only for a moment. Then I stopped. My hand found her wrist. "Harper, we shouldn't." "I know," she said, barely audible. But I needed to feel like I mattered. Just for a second. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just nodded and stood, quietly. "I'm sorry," she said. "You should go." I left. I didn't tell Emily. I didn't tell myself what I was doing. But the next time I saw them both, back at Emily's house, 3 nights later, I noticed it immediately. The triangle. Emily's sideways glances. Harper's guarded posture. Me, in the center of something I couldn't define and couldn't stop. Emily sat next to me that evening. Her thigh touched mine, her hand grazing my wrist when she passed the wine. Harper noticed. She said nothing, but her jaw tightened. Her gaze lingered. Her answers to Emily's suggestions got sharper. We were no longer just a team. We were a powder keg. That night, after Harper left, Emily stayed behind. We didn't talk. Not about the files. Not about the plan. She simply turned to me on the couch and asked, "Can I lay here for a minute?" I nodded. She rested her head on my shoulder. My arm curled around her, almost instinctively. I felt her breath slow, steady. Her fingers found mine again. "I don't know what's happening between us," she said quietly, "but it feels better than being numb." And I wanted to say something deep, something honest, something that would explain the chaos in my chest. But all I could say was, "Me too." The line was crossed. No sex. Not yet. But something more dangerous. Intimacy. The kind built not from romance, but survival. The kind that doesn't ask permission. It bleeds into you. We didn't speak of Harper. And I didn't tell Harper about that night. I told myself it was strategy, keeping the team from fracturing. But in truth, I was caught in something I didn't see coming. A silent war between two women who had once been allies, now orbiting me like satellites with unpredictable gravity. Lena once told me, back when things were good, the scariest emotions aren't hate or love, they're the ones in between. The ones that blur. I didn't understand her then. I do now. Because revenge had started this. But something else was rising. Something harder to control. And a part of me, a selfish, broken part, didn't want it to stop. You don't ruin people's lives without consequences. It started with a knock on my door. Saturday morning. I hadn't slept well. My dreams were stained with lips I shouldn't have kissed and eyes I couldn't stop picturing. I was halfway through my second cup of black coffee when it happened. 3 hard knocks. I opened the door and found Chris, Tyler, and Lena standing on my porch like some goddamn betrayal reunion tour. Chris looked hollowed out, cheeks sunken, suit wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. Tyler, still too proud for his own good, wore designer shades, but his jaw flexed like it was wired with TNT. Lena wore a long beige coat and dark lipstick, like she thought playing the part of the grieving wife might earn her redemption. "Daniel," she said, like we were still on speaking terms. "We need to talk." I didn't move. "I don't think there's anything left to say." Chris stepped forward. "You need to stop." I actually laughed. "Stop what?" Tyler took off his sunglasses. "We know it was you. The emails. The leaks. The photos. You fucked my wife," I said. "With each other. In my house. I gave you silence. What did you expect? A fruit basket?" Lena crossed her arms. "This has gone too far. My business is hemorrhaging clients. People I've worked with for years are ghosting me. My parents. They saw the photos, Daniel. My father called me a whore." I held her gaze. "You look like you were enjoying it." Her face twisted, but she didn't deny it. Chris tried again. "We're not here to beg. We're here to warn you." "Is that a threat?" Tyler jumped in. "It's a reality check. If you think you can destroy all 3 of us and walk away clean." "I don't want to walk away clean," I snapped. "I want the dirt. I want every filthy detail of what you did to rot your reputations from the inside out." Lena's voice cracked. "You're not the only one hurting." My eyes went cold. "Don't you dare say that." They stood there a moment longer. I could see the cracks in them, the panic barely hidden beneath anger. And something in me loved it. I closed the door without another word. But the war had escalated. Within 2 days, things started happening. Chris filed a restraining order against Emily, claimed she was harassing him at work. Of course it didn't stick, but it forced her to sit through a hearing. Humiliating. Tyler tried freezing shared assets before Harper could fully separate them. She had to scramble with her attorney to keep her accounts safe. Lena started a whisper campaign, subtle, calculated. She told mutual friends I was unstable, obsessive, that I had set her up, manipulated the footage. Said she was worried I might hurt myself or others. The kicker? She showed up at my house again, alone this time. I almost didn't answer the door. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. She stood in the doorway, softer than before. Her coat was gone. She wore a tight black dress that hugged her curves, subtle perfume clinging to her skin. Her eyes glistened with something between guilt and calculation. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I'm here to talk." I said nothing. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. It was a mistake. She walked in like she still owned the place, fingertips trailing across the counter. Her presence filled the kitchen like smoke, hard to breathe around. You really want to destroy me that badly? She asked quietly. Was I that awful to you? You fucked my two best friends, I said flatly. What answer are you hoping for? She turned to face me, lip trembling slightly. Do you remember the night we met? Don't. Come on, Danny. Her voice dipped into that sultry tone she used to use in bed, the one that used to melt me from the inside out. I was wearing that red dress. You said my laugh made you feel drunk. I didn't reply. She stepped closer. You were gone so much. Business trips. Meetings. You stopped seeing me. I was building our life. She reached for my hand, and I was starving in it. I yanked away. Her voice shifted, colder. You think Harper and Emily care about you? You're a tool, Daniel. Their pain looks like desire now, but it's still pain. Sooner or later, they'll realize they don't need you. I'm not the one who needed 3 bodies to feel whole, I snapped. Her jaw clenched. You're going to regret this. No, I said. You are. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was chess, and they'd finally started playing their side of the board. Later that night, I met with Emily and Harper. Emily had bruises under her eyes from the restraining order hearing. Harper's phone buzzed nonstop with updates from her legal team. But when I told them about Lena's visit, the energy changed. She tried to seduce you? Harper asked, voice like flint. I nodded. Tried to turn it emotional first, then physical. Emily's voice was sharp. That means she's desperate. Harper crossed her arms. Or manipulative. I looked between them. Either way, we can't let up. If anything, we push harder. Emily nodded. We hit her public image. Hard. I've got contacts in local media. If we leak the right story, phrase it carefully. Harper added. And I've got proof Tyler lied on financial disclosures. I'll drop it to his firm's ethics board. I looked at them both, something heavy rising in my chest. This trio, forged in betrayal, sharpened by rage, was the only thing keeping me from drowning. And despite everything, despite the jealousy threading between them, they stood by me now. Together. I said it aloud without thinking. We end this. For good. And they both nodded. The pact hadn't just held. It had evolved. We weren't just getting revenge anymore. We were going for extinction. If revenge is gasoline, then intimacy is the match you don't even realize you're holding until everything is already burning. The air between the 3 of us had changed. It wasn't just tension anymore. It was awareness. A pull. A gravity none of us asked for, but all of us felt. I kept telling myself it was circumstantial. Trauma bonding. Emotional fallout. Nothing real. But real things have a way of happening when you're pretending they won't. It was a Friday night when everything cracked. We were meeting at Emily's again to finalize the next phase of destruction, releasing curated evidence to a handful of key influencers who had quietly followed Lena's design page for years. A single whisper from them could ruin her brand instantly. Emily sat close to me on the couch, closer than usual. Her knee pressed lightly against mine. Her hair fell in soft waves over her shoulder, the scent of lavender brushing against me each time she leaned in to point something out on her laptop. She wore a loose cream sweater that slipped just enough to reveal one bare shoulder. It wasn't intentional. That made it worse. Harper noticed it immediately. She always noticed. She walked in with a stack of printouts, heels clicking, jaw set tight. She took one look at where Emily was sitting and placed herself in the armchair across from us instead of next to me like she usually did. Emily didn't move. All right, Harper said crisply. Let's go over the timing for the releases. Her eyes met mine for a split second, a flash of something sharp. Possessive? Hurt. I didn't know. We talked strategy, schedules, legal contingencies, but the words felt thinner. The air thicker. Every time Emily touched my arm to get my attention, Harper's lips tightened. And every time Harper leaned forward and her sweater dipped just slightly, Emily's gaze flickered downward, tense, assessing. I pretended not to notice. I was lying to myself. When the planning wrapped, we all sat in a strange, loaded silence. Emily closed her laptop, exhaling softly. We've done good work. We're close. Closer than they think, Harper added. I stood to refill our glasses. Emily followed me into the kitchen, laying a hand on my forearm. Hey, she said softly, you okay? You've been quiet. Her touch lingered. I swallowed. Just tired. Tired? Or avoiding something? Her eyes were too knowing. I should have pulled away. I didn't. The moment stretched, delicate and dangerous. Her fingertips slid down my arm before she caught herself and stepped back, cheeks flushing slightly. And that's when Harper walked in. She froze in the doorway, eyes locking onto Emily's hand just as it dropped to her side. Her expression didn't change, but the silence behind her eyes did. "What's going on?" she asked, voice deceptively casual. "Nothing," Emily answered quickly. Too quickly. Harper looked at me. "Daniel." Her voice wasn't accusing, it was soft. Wounded. Like she already knew the answer and hated that she had to ask. I opened my mouth, but I didn't have a clean answer. Not after the near kiss with Emily. Not after the kiss I'd already shared with Harper. And I knew, in that instant, this wasn't just tension anymore. This was a fault line. Emily stepped forward. "Harper, don't look at him like that." "Like what?" Harper snapped. "Like he's the one in the middle of whatever this is." "You're the one who's been acting jealous," Emily shot back, voice trembling slightly. "Because you've been draping yourself over him like." "Enough," I said, louder than I meant to. They both looked at me. Two women. Two wounds. Two storms building. I rubbed a hand over my face. "We can't do this. We can't fall apart now. Not when we're this close to finishing the plan." Emily crossed her arms. "We're not falling apart." Harper scoffed. "Speak for yourself." Emily stepped toward her. "What is that supposed to mean? That you're pretending this is all about revenge?" Harper fired back. "But I see the way you look at him." "And how do you look at him?" Emily demanded. "Like he saved my life," Harper said, breath shaking. "And like I don't want to lose the only person who's been solid since everything collapsed." Emily swallowed hard. "You think I don't feel that too?" The room went quiet. Too quiet. I took a slow breath. "Look, none of us planned this. We're hurting. We're angry. And when people go through hell together, lines blur." Emily looked at me. "Have they blurred for you?" The question hit like a punch. Harper's gaze snapped to me too, eyes wide, searching. I didn't want to hurt either of them, but I also couldn't lie. "Yeah," I said quietly. "They have." A long silence. Emily stepped back, as if the words both soothed and stung. Harper looked away, blinking hard. Finally Harper spoke. "So where does that leave us? All three of us?" I hesitated, because the truth was messy and dangerous. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I know one thing. We can't let this destroy what we're doing. Not until justice is finished." Emily nodded slowly. "Agreed." Harper exhaled. "Fine, but we need boundaries. Or honesty. Or something." "We'll figure it out," I promised. "We'd better," Harper murmured. "Because I'm not letting those assholes win by watching us implode." Emily managed a small, broken smile. "Same." The triangle didn't resolve that night. It tightened. Complicated. Emotional. Alive. As they both gathered their things to leave, Emily brushed my arm again. Not by accident. A minute later, at the doorway, Harper hugged me longer than she needed to. Not by accident. And when the door closed behind them, I stood in the quiet, heart pounding, knowing the truth. Revenge was no longer the most dangerous thing binding us. Feelings were. And feelings are far harder to control. We had taken our time. Planned every move like surgeons, steady, careful, precise. But this phase? This was different. This was fire. It began with Chris. Emily dropped the hammer on a Monday. She had gathered everything. The text threads, the affair timeline, screenshots of Lena's lingerie selfies buried in Chris's hidden folder, and even a photo of the three of them together at a hotel bar the night before I came home early. Then she did something bold. She scheduled a lunch with Chris's firm's human resources. Not anonymous. Not quiet. She walked in, handed them the file, and said, "I just thought you should know the kind of man representing your company's values." She told me later how satisfying it was to watch the HR director's jaw lock up. How no one made eye contact with Chris when he passed their desks later that afternoon. 2 days later, they suspended him. Indefinite. Unpaid. Pending investigation into personal conduct affecting company reputation. It was everything he feared, the fall from grace. The image of stability cracking open. And Lena? She tried to post through the chaos. Cute pictures. Interior tips. Sponsored stories. But when we dropped the screenshots of her sexting both Chris and Tyler into the inboxes of 3 mommy influencers, one's known for promoting female integrity, the fallout was immediate. One of them posted a vague Instagram story that said, Turns out some boss babes are just bedroom parasites hiding behind filters. Y'all better vet who you hire. Lena's following dipped almost 9,000 in one day. 2 sponsors pulled out. One of her biggest clients canceled an upcoming project. I heard from a mutual friend that Lena's face turned to stone when she saw the posts. That she called Chris and Tyler, demanding to know who had betrayed them. But none of them suspected Harper. And certainly not me. Because while they scrambled to control the bleeding, Harper hit Tyler where it really hurt, his money. See, Tyler wasn't just a lawyer. He was his firm's golden boy. Clients loved him. His reputation carried weight. And Harper knew just where to slice. She filed a formal complaint with the State Bar Association. Attached, his undisclosed personal affairs with a client's spouse, that'd be Lena, text messages suggesting he gave confidential advice outside the office, and this one was Harper's masterstroke. A screenshot of Tyler mocking a former client's mental health in a private chat. That one went viral inside the legal circle. Tyler was summoned for a disciplinary hearing by Friday. He lost 3 major clients by Monday. And with his accounts frozen from the divorce, Harper had full access to every financial weakness he'd ever tried to hide. "I'm not just taking half," she told me over wine that night. "I'm taking everything he built off my back." Her eyes burned as she said it. Not with vengeance, with clarity. And still, somehow, in the eye of this storm, we found moments of calm. That Thursday night, after everything dropped, Emily asked me to stay late. We were sitting in her living room again, laptops closed, phones face down. "We're almost there," she said, curled up beside me, feet tucked under a blanket. I should feel happy, triumphant. "But," I asked. She looked up at me. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "That when this is over, I won't know who I am without the pain." I didn't say anything. I just wrapped an arm around her, and she sank into me like she'd been waiting weeks to do it. No kiss, no sex, just heat and breath and 2 people letting their bodies speak when words couldn't. But the line was blurring too fast now. And when Harper showed up the next day, unannounced, it blurred even further. She looked tired, but fierce. "I needed to see you," she said, stepping inside. "I don't want to go another night pretending I don't care what's happening between us." I was frozen. "Emily," I started, but she shook her head. "She doesn't own you. And I don't either. But I do want to know if this is something real." Her voice cracked. Or if I was just part of the fallout. I walked closer, placed a hand on her waist, and said the only honest thing I could. "I don't know what this is yet." She didn't cry. She kissed me. Slow. Lingering. Like she knew the truth was going to hurt, and kissed me anyway. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I felt guilty, but because for the first time since this started, I felt lost. We had destroyed the cheaters. Chris's career was in flames. Tyler's life was under legal siege. Lena's reputation was circling the drain. Every filtered photo now a reminder of her duplicity. We'd won, but I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow, because somewhere along the way, the goal had shifted. Revenge wasn't the end anymore. It was the beginning. And now we had to live in what we'd created. Together. Or broken. I didn't see it coming. I thought we were past the worst of it. The chaos had peaked. The cheaters were collapsing under the weight of their own rot. We had won, hadn't we? But peace is a fragile illusion when trust is already cracked. It started with a message. Anonymous email. No subject. 1 line of text. "Nice threesome you've got going. Wonder how your exes would feel about that." Attached, 2 photos. One of me with Emily, our faces close, her lips brushing the corner of my mouth, taken from across the street through her living room window. The second, me and Harper, kissing outside my front door at night. Blurry, intimate, undeniable. The email had no name, but it didn't need one. They knew. Chris, Tyler, Lena, they knew everything now. I stared at the screen, heart hammering. For a few minutes, I didn't move. I just sat in that realization, feeling the weight of it settle across my chest like lead. They had surveillance on us. And they weren't just watching. They were waiting. I sent the photos to Emily and Harper with no text. 10 minutes later, my phone rang, Emily first. "Tell me that's fake," she said, voice brittle. "It's not." She didn't speak for several seconds. Then, "So it's true. You and Harper?" "It wasn't planned. It just happened." "And us?" she asked. "Was that also an accident?" I closed my eyes. It wasn't about choosing. It was about surviving. She hung up. 30 minutes later, Harper showed up at my door. No warning. Her face was storm clouds, her jaw clenched tight. Emily called me. I stepped aside, but she didn't come in. She stood on the porch, arms crossed. She said she's done, that she can't work with me, with you, that we crossed the line too far. We all crossed lines, I said. This isn't just on me. But you knew what you were doing, Harper snapped. You let us orbit you like nothing mattered. That's not fair. No. She stepped closer. Because it sure as hell feels like you let us think we were safe, that there was something real here. And now it's blown everything to hell. I swallowed. I care about you. About her. But this war, it twisted things. Her voice cracked. So what happens now? I didn't have an answer. She turned and walked away. The next day, Emily removed me from our shared folders. Deleted me from the group thread. I reached out once. She didn't respond. Harper went silent too. And just like that, the pact began to fracture. But the cheaters didn't wait. They seized their moment. Lena went live on Instagram, eyes red, voice shaking. A carefully crafted performance of heartbreak and betrayal. I just want to say that I made mistakes. But some people have taken things too far. I was threatened, stalked, my privacy violated, all by people I once trusted. The comments poured in, sympathy, outrage, support. She'd reframed herself as the victim. And it was working. Tyler filed a harassment complaint with the court, naming me and unknown parties believed to be associated with Emily and Harper. Chris? He leaked the photos. Every photo from the anonymous email, plus one more. A security cam grab from Emily's driveway, timestamped weeks ago. Me, entering her house late at night. The caption he added when it hit Reddit? Revenge turns to lust. How 3 broken people used their pain to justify betrayal of their own. The thread exploded. Comments were brutal. We were called hypocrites, narcissists, manipulators. Some people called it karma. Others turned it into meme fodder. But the worst part? The thread was forwarded to Emily's divorce attorney and Harper's custody mediator. Both women now had to answer for romantic entanglements, with a central figure in the case. Me. I became the liability. Emily finally broke her silence 3 nights later. She met me at a diner, neutral ground, public, safe. She looked exhausted, pale. Her usual spark dimmed. We had a plan, she said quietly. A clean, brutal revenge. But now it's turned into a tabloid circus. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. She nodded slowly. I believe you. But that doesn't mean it didn't. I reached for her hand. She pulled it back. Don't, she said. I'm not here for that. So why are you here? She looked me in the eye. Because I need to know if you're still in this. If you still care about the pact. Or if this was all just a distraction for you. I leaned back, ashamed. I'm still in. All the way. I let things get messy, but I never stopped wanting to see them all burn. Then prove it, she said. How? Harper answered that question the next morning. She showed up again, eyes darker, no makeup, no softness. They're going to leak more, she said. Private texts. Maybe a video. You think they won't? I know Lena. I know Tyler. They'll scorch everything. So we strike first? I asked. No, she said. We go nuclear. Emily joined the call an hour later. For the first time in days, the 3 of us sat in the same digital space again. Tense. Broken. But united. We agreed on one thing. This had gone beyond revenge. This was now survival. And if we were going down, we were taking the bastards with us. Every last one. There's a point where revenge loses its edge and becomes something else. Something heavier. A burden. A reckoning. We had reached that point. Chris, Tyler, and Lena were backed into a corner, and cornered animals bite. The anonymous threats became direct. Their legal teams made calls. Lawyers hinted at lawsuits. HR departments started poking around. But what hit hardest? The final betrayal. It came from Lena. She had been quiet for almost a week. Not a word. Not a whisper. Then, without warning, she dropped a bomb. An online expose. Not on them, on us. She'd sold the story to a mid-tier tabloid. Cheated on husband, rebounds with 2 other betrayed spouses in secret revenge pact turned love triangle. Clickbait, but not far from the truth. The article included anonymous quotes, likely fabricated, from close sources describing me as manipulative, emotionally abusive, and exploitative. It accused Emily and Harper of being unstable, weaponizing femininity to destroy the men who hurt them. Photos were included, the ones from earlier. And worse, a private, Grainy photo of me shirtless in Harper's kitchen, wearing only jeans, taken from behind. We never figured out how she got it. The story went semi-viral. Enough that my name started trending locally. Enough that Emily's boss called her in for a conversation. Enough that Harper's custody hearing was delayed under concerns of domestic instability. Enough that it hurt. We met that night at a cheap hotel off the highway. Anonymous, safe. Harper booked the room. Emily brought a burner phone. I brought what was left of my pride. The tension between the three of us was sharper than ever. Words had become delicate. Touches, rare. Emily stood by the window, arms crossed, staring out. She wants to bury us. All three. No more games. Harper sat at the foot of the bed, scrolling through her phone. It's not just her. Tyler and Chris are feeding the fire now. Look at this. She handed me the screen. It was a new Reddit thread. Update. Exposing the exposers. The real story behind the cheating scandal. Fake screenshots. Fabricated texts. One message claimed I initiated Lena's affair, suggesting I pushed her to experiment with our friends. It was character assassination. I can't believe they'd stoop this low, I said. Harper laughed bitterly. They were always this low. We just didn't want to see it. Emily turned. So what do we do? There was only one answer left. We take the hit, I said. Both women looked at me. What? Harper asked. I go public, I said. With everything. The truth. The original betrayal. The pact. The revenge. All of it. I admit it. I own it. Emily's voice was quiet. They'll crucify you. They already are. No, Harper said. No way. You're not sacrificing yourself to protect us. I'm not doing it to protect you, I said. I'm doing it because someone has to draw the line. This ends with me. Emily stepped forward. You don't have to be a martyr. I'm not, I said. I'm just done being their target. There was a long silence. Then Harper said, If you do this, we'll lose you. I nodded. Maybe, Emily whispered, or we'll lose ourselves if you don't. The next morning, I did it. I wrote the post myself. On my terms. I titled it, Yes, we burn them. Here's why. I explained everything. Lena's affair with my two best friends. The emotional devastation. The quiet rage that turned into a pact. The revenge campaign. The truth about what connected me to Emily and Harper. Pain, not predation. And finally, the price we all paid. No blaming. No smearing. Just raw truth. I ended it with this. We didn't start out trying to destroy people. We were destroyed first. We only picked up the pieces and chose not to stay broken. If that makes us monsters, then maybe it's the monsters you should be more afraid of. It went viral. Not just locally. Nationally. It was shared on forums. News sites. Podcasts picked it up. Some people call me toxic. Some call me a hero. Others, most, didn't know what to think. But one thing changed. The narrative shifted. The cheaters were no longer in control of the story. They tried to retaliate again. Chris issued a formal statement denying everything. Tyler threatened legal action. Lena released a tearful video claiming she was being digitally stalked. But no one cared. The internet had moved on. The truth was out. The real damage had already been done to them and us. We met again 2 weeks later. Emily had been quiet, reflective. Harper had gone to stay with family for a while. But that day, we met on a park bench like we were strangers pretending to be old friends. You didn't have to do that, Emily said softly, watching a group of kids play soccer in the distance. I know. Harper arrived a few minutes later, sunglasses covering her eyes. She sat between us without a word. For a long time, we said nothing. Then Harper spoke. It's over now, isn't it? Almost, I said. But there's one question left. Emily looked at me. What? I turned to them both. What happens to us now? The silence returned, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy, honest. Harper leaned back and looked up at the sky. I don't know. I'm scared of ruining something good. Emily looked at me. And I'm scared of losing something real. I exhaled. Then maybe we start over. Not as revenge. Not as escape. But as something else. Harper raised an eyebrow. What exactly? I smiled. I don't know. But maybe this time, we get to choose it. The funny thing about endings? They rarely look like what you expect. I used to think revenge would feel like standing on a mountain. Enemies vanquished, righteous fire burning in my chest. But when the dust finally settled, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like survival. The cheaters were finished. Chris was fired, officially this time. His firm cited irreparable harm to client trust and ethical misconduct, though no one used the word affair. But everyone knew. His name was whispered with either pity or scorn. Tyler's license was under review. He lost 3 major clients and a civil suit filed by a former associate who saw the screenshots we leaked. Harper walked away with full custody, 3/4 of the marital assets, and, most importantly, her self-respect intact. And Lena, she disappeared from social media for a while. When she came back, she rebranded, a softer, spiritual version of herself. Healing coach, crystal energy, self-compassion after betrayal. It was laughable, but the comments were brutal. Every new post was met with reminders of what she'd done. Her reputation never recovered. But this isn't their story anymore. It's ours. 3 weeks after my public confession, Emily called me. "I want to see you," she said. "Both of us do." So I went. It wasn't dramatic. No candlelit confrontation. No fiery declarations. Just the 3 of us sitting on Emily's back porch, a late spring breeze drifting through the trees. The wine was chilled. The silence was warm. Harper was the first to speak. "I thought when this ended, I'd feel free. Like I'd escaped something. But I don't." Emily nodded. "Same. It's like I lost something and found something all at once." I looked at them both, heart thudding. "I've felt stuck between you since the moment we crossed that line." Harper tilted her head. "Which line?" "All of them," I said. "Every one we pretended didn't exist." Emily leaned forward. "Then let's be honest. No more pretending." And so we were. We talked. Not as co-conspirators, not as wounded hearts clinging to one another, but as people. Real people. Harper confessed that she hated the jealousy but couldn't stop feeling it. Emily admitted that she'd fallen for me and resented that it wasn't just her. And me? I told them I was afraid. Not of commitment, but of breaking something that had already survived so much. What if we ruin this? I asked. Harper looked at me. Or what if we build something better? Emily smiled softly. Not out of pain, out of choice. And that was the turning point. We didn't jump into bed that night. We didn't seal our future with sex or passion or even declarations of love. We made a pact, but not like before. No destruction, no vengeance, no war. Just this. We choose us. All of us. It didn't mean we were instantly a throuple. It didn't mean we had a roadmap. It meant we were open to trying, to failing, to growing. Together. And slowly, it became something real. Emily and Harper remained close. Not just connected by what had happened, but by new honesty. They went to brunch, made each other laugh again. We started meeting once a week. No plotting, no whispers of sabotage. Just life. And the intimacy? It returned. But this time, with clarity. With permission. With intent. The first time the 3 of us spent the night together, truly together, it wasn't wild or chaotic. It was gentle. Slow. All hands and murmurs and breathing. A soft, reverent exploration of something deeper than sex. It was healing. Months passed. Emily finalized her divorce. Clean, decisive. She kept the house. Harper moved into her own place, close by. I found a small home with space, quiet, and no ghosts in the walls. We didn't rush the future. But we didn't run from it, either. Eventually, we started spending weekends together. Then more. One day, Harper showed up with her daughter, who ran into my arms like she'd known me forever. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, she said, "She asked if you were part of our family now." "What did you tell her?" I asked. She smiled. I said, "Maybe, if we're lucky." Emily joined us on the porch, carrying wine, eyes full of light. "Then let's be lucky," she said. And I realized then, this wasn't the end of a cheating story. It was the start of something none of us planned, but all of us needed. No longer broken. No longer hollowed out by betrayal. A new pact, built not from ashes, but from what survived the fire. And that's the story worth remembering.